much longer than
I
expected.
had the mic off the whole time.
Two new manga
Totally
in
wasn't talking
2014.
to myself.
Both
Ah,
on the
miss!
tamer side of his audience. The first is titled Shikaku, where a serial psychotic assassin girl meets an immortal vampire, where the vampire hopes that she can finally put an end to his life. But what he never expected was a bit of a wholesome twist. While his next one-shot is Fujimoto's attempt to make a quote-unquote normal story. The Jump SQ editorial staff laughed at the fact that Fujimoto was unable to write any normal stories. So, in response, Fujimoto published Mermaid Rhapsody. And in this world, mermaids exist, but instead of solely being these majestically beautiful creatures, they're feared by humanity. As if untamed, they'll show no regard in eating humans. But this boy here wishes to meet a mermaid, because his mother was one. And at the bottom of the ocean lies a piano. And due to his partial mermaid genetics, he dives into the depths, playing the piano in hopes that his wish comes true. It's debatable to say that Fujimoto created a normal story. However, I'll just leave that decision up to you. And 2014 wasn't solely just a year for publishing one-shots. It's also the year Fujimoto would graduate in Western painting from Tohoku University. And following his graduation, would move to Tokyo, staying in a bottom-of-the-barrel apartment, hoping that he'll soon serialize his long-form manga. Yet, that day wouldn't come in the following year. So in 2015, Fujimoto published his sole one-shot, Nayata, a Prophecy, where the story revolves around this single prophecy.
It is said that a magic user with wounds that pierce the womb will be born. That person will not have a human heart. She speaks in a cruel tongue, unable to be comprehended by others. In the end, this person will destroy the world.
As the title suggests, Nayata would become this so-called prophecy, and she creates immense uproar and turmoil across the entire city. Nayata the Prophecy is a chaotically gruesome story, while at the same time is quite endearing. The end of 2015 is what I declare as the first act of Fujimoto's professional career. It marked a turning point as he was capable of moving on to much bigger things, such as in 2016, when Fujimoto finally got serialized for long publication. The series, titled Fire Punch. Oh God. Oh God. We are not ready for that yet. I guess we'll just have to come back to it later. Before Fujimoto's next major title, he would go on to publish 2 more one-shots, and these cement him as one of the most bizarre mangaka ever. The first came out on April 24th, 2017, titled When I Woke Up I'd Become a Girl Disease, and that is the entire plot. This guy wakes up as a girl one day and just has to figure out how to deal with his new life. Then, after he finished the oddity that is Fire Punch on January 1st, 2018, Fujimoto kept that weird momentum going, creating Little Sister, Elder Sister. Published on May 2nd, 2018, Little Sister, Elder Sister is in fierce competition as the strangest of Fujimoto's works, because it's about 2 sisters who are quite artistically talented, but they did something a little peculiar. That being, they've painted each other naked. On December 3rd, 2018, Fujimoto would create his included on December 14th, 2020, and part 2 would be picked up shortly after on July 13th, 2022. During Fujimoto's time away from Chainsaw Man, he created 3 new one-shots. Look Back, Goodbye Eri, Just Listen to the Song. In July 2021, Look Back was published and was immediately met with critical acclaim. The notoriety of Fujimoto's name is due in part to the wild success of Chainsaw Man, and on the first day of publication, Look Back accrued over 2.5 million reads in just the first day. Goodbye Eri would follow this up on April 11th, 2022, also met with immense success, garnering over 2.2 million reads in just the first day. The striking improvement Fujimoto has made over his career is demonstrated in both of these one-shots, with Look Back being about aspiring mangaka, While Goodbye Eri is a manga that's quite literally a cinematic masterpiece. And I'm specifically being brief here, as these are must-read stories that I feel are best to go in 100% blind. So after this video, it's your obligation to go read them if you haven't already. In July 2022, Fujimoto wrote the story for a one-shot titled Just Listen to the Song, while not trying to find meaning in things that don't exist. How it's better to just appreciate a piece of media for what it is. Unlike the previous two, Just Listen to the Song wasn't as widely appreciated. Nonetheless, I think it's still a fantastic, quick 20-page read. Following closely after, Chainsaw Man Part 2 would begin on July 13th, and is still going on as the first recording. And with that marks the complete summary of Fujimoto's professional manga career. And we still have to answer the most important question. But before that, here's the newly updated Fujimoto Weirdness Index. April 18, 2016 was a monumental day for Fujimoto, as the inaugural chapter of his new abominable series, Fire Punch, would be released. Now, trying to explain what Fire Punch is to someone who's never read it is like trying to explain the plot of a dictionary. It is quite impossible to do. So I think the best way for all of us to get a general understanding of what it's about is to dive into the first chapter.
Those born with the ability to perform miracles are called the blessed.
Lord, I don't care if I die. Just please save Luna. Give us your merciful flame.
That the world is now enveloped in snow, starvation, and madness. The freezing masses yearn for fire.
Luna, get it in one swing!
Just relax, brother. You're looking pale. We should take a break.
I'm fine. We'll stop after 7 rounds today, okay? Now just keep chopping, Luna. Hello? Shima, we brought you an arm.
Coming.
We drained it this time, so it should last a while. I hope you enjoy it.
Agni, Luna, as always, thank you for your sacrifice. I will be sure to treasure it as I need it. If it weren't for the two of you, everyone would die of hunger. We truly appreciate it.
Is that the last of them?
All that's left is open mana. He's dead.
Oh man, Vana. That makes 6 this month.
It's not your fault, brother. He was always against eating human flesh. There's nothing he could have done. Besides, it's all the Ice Witch's fault anyway. She's the one who froze the world and continues to take everyone away. Like she did with Mom and Dad.
That is really not very good writing.
All done, brother. I made a really light soup using your arm muscles. There's even a little bit of potatoes in it.
What a treat! I knew it! The meat at the joints are the best!
You're delicious, brother.
Yeah.
Brother, will you make a baby with me?
What? Idiot! Stupid head! Why would you even... We're siblings!
But we're the only young people in the village.
Stop!
We have to get her home. Besides, I love you, brother.
Idiot! We're siblings!
Somebody get shot. Oh.
I can't believe there's still deer around. Everyone will be thrilled.
Come on, hurry it up. Damn it. Nothing but old fuckers.
Hey, you there! Why are you here?
There's a young man here, too. How rare. My name is Doma. What's yours?
I'm Agni. Now, why are you here?
No need to glare. We didn't come to fight. There's a war not far from here, and we've exhausted our supplies. Since we came upon your village, we'll be taking your rations and fuel.
We don't have enough to share. Just get out of here and let me go, you jerk.
Doma, sir, we have a situation. We found something during the search of the homes. There are body parts in every home. Human meat. These guys, they're eating people.
Cannibals?
It's not what you think. It's human meat, but
We're leaving. Pull out.
Pull out!
These things aren't people. Agni, is there a blessed one in this village?
Is he hoping to gain a slave? No?
Well, I'm one. And I only use my power for the king. That's right. If the king were here, he wouldn't allow a village of cannibals to go unchecked.
It was an indescribable pain. Each time my flesh turned to ash, my regeneration would kick in. It was an endless cycle. I couldn't think straight and no longer had it in me to scream. All I could do was pray to God to protect Luna from those flames, to allow her to survive safe and sound. That heat, that pain, that vomiting, that smell of burning, sickened flesh. I couldn't take it. I cursed my blessing, my regenerative powers, and then I realized, by focusing my mind on negating the regeneration of my arm, it would die and no longer regenerate. I had found a way to escape the pain. If I just died, consumed by pain, it was all I could think of. I would die. I would let my life go. Nah. Luna was so close to being fully consumed. After all, her regenerative powers were weaker than mine. She told me to live. Consumed in flames of anguish, she was returned to ash. Year 1. All I did was howl in pain. Even through the worst of the storms, the flames never subsided. Year 3. I began to walk, coughing up blood all the while. To distract myself from the pain, I bit my tongue off time and time again. Year 5. My brain acclimated to the pain. My body could move about freely, but I still could not breathe well. Year 8. I started teaching myself how to control my regenerative powers. I succeed in confining my flames to my lower body, away from my head. For the first time in a long while, I could breathe air.
Hey, what'll happen to the slaves in the back?
We'll sell the pretty ones to the rich. The ugly will breed until they're dead. The men work until they die. They're lucky they get to be slaves of the Lord, and we're all set to freeze or starve.
Hey, I gotta piss. Pull over.
You got it, Captain.
I'll make it quick. 10 seconds tops. the redhead in my cab. Gather the old and kill 'em, cover the kids with blankets. The king is gathering the blessed. If you're blessed, raise your hand. You're guaranteed good treatment. What are you looking at? I hate people who don't know their place. Kill that kid.
Why aren't you shooting?
There's something walking this way. It's a blessed. He looks warm.
I hate being interrupted. I'll kill him. 10 seconds flat.
Fire Punch is fucking weird. Like, this happened in the first chapter. This happened in the first chapter. This happened in the first chapter. And this happened in the first chapter. And that is just the first goddamn chapter. It only gets stranger from here. So maybe you can understand what I mean when I just can't summarize the plot of Fire Punch. Not only because it's weird, but also because the plot does a somersault every third volume. So, Fire Punch is really weird, huh? This is my segues to get back to some more serious stuff. Fujimoto has no regard for what is seen as socially acceptable. He isn't afraid to depict the most gruesome, absurdly odd things, such as this, or this, and even this. Also, let me remind you that in order for you to create something this weird, your mind has to first think of that weird thing. And this makes you question how Fire Punch was ever approved for serialization in the first place. Well, it actually took 2 rejections from Jump Square before Fujimoto got to tell this story in Shonen Jump Plus. As I mentioned earlier, Shonen Jump is the holy grail of manga magazines, with its desired target audience of male teens. But because Fujimoto didn't find himself in Weekly Shonen Jump, but in Shonen Jump Plus, he made sure to create a story that would never be allowed in Weekly Shonen Jump. So he included ideas about religion, slavery, rape, torture, bestiality, cannibalism, and incest. It seems ludicrous that anyone would be drawn to this vulgar story. It explores taboos, has twists and turns at every corner, and you never know what to expect while reading. And whenever you think you know what's going to happen next, you're wrong. And I think this quote perfectly sums up your expectations while reading.
Every time you think Agni's going to take 1 step forward, he takes 2 steps left and never takes up.
Fire Punch is quite literally in direct opposition to Weekly Shonen Jump. There is little to nothing formulaic about it. So I gotta ask, why would anyone resonate with this story? Well, Fire Punch is the antithesis of Weekly Shonen Jump, but it's also the antithesis of manga in general. The ideas explored in Fire Punch are ones that you'll rarely find in any manga. I mean, sure, you may find some aspects of slavery in your shitty typical isekai, but it's not depicted to the same grotesque effect in Fire Punch. I mean, sure, there is technically slavery in a series like One Piece, but do you find this in One Piece? The aspects that separates the topics explored in Fire Punch that's also brushed up in other manga is the level of vile realism. Furthermore, it's not just the faithfulness of the depictions, but also the stupid amount of quantity. Fire Punch is quite literally a walking trigger warning. You just don't typically find this in any manga, especially ones with an ounce of popularity, which is why Fire Punch took the internet by storm in 2016. Tatsuki Fujimoto is beyond all. It's not revolutionary to state that. So what is the value of being a strange author? It's not like him being weird means his work gets 10 times better. So let's first answer why Fujimoto reached the pinnacle of manga authors. To do so, I have to ask, why are his works so different? And first, let's talk about inspiration. You can find it anywhere. We have access to an infinite well of never-ending creative endeavors. With Fujimoto having only just reached his 30s, he's in a different position relative to other great mangaka, because he's had the privilege of being one of the first generations to grow up during the internet era, allowing Fujimoto to dive into a treasure trove of endless content. But to answer why Fujimoto's works are so different, we first have to understand why many shonen feel so similar. There's a common trend among shonen mangaka when referring to what inspired their stories. For example, Eiichiro Oda was inspired by Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball. Same for Masashi Kishimoto, as well as drawing from Togashi's Hunter x Hunter. While newer names like Gege Akutami have been inspired by Togashi's Hunter x Hunter and Tite Kubo's Bleach. So what's the common factor amongst all of their inspiration? Well, shonen manga authors countlessly exclaim their inspiration from previous shonen stories. And firstly, I'm not trying to say that it's bad to draw inspiration from what has succeeded and impacted you as a viewer, as it certainly has provided a successful framework for many shonen titles to follow. But ironically enough, that's where the problem lies. This manga-inspired innovation only creates a continuous positive feedback loop. As you can see, authors draw inspiration from series that came before them, but that also means they create stories similar to that previous generation, creating this never-ending loop of titles that all feel a little bit stale. That isn't to say I don't absolutely love them, but there's a lack of innovation in the genre. I bring this all up to say that inspiration is where Fujimoto differs, allowing him to create stories so vastly different from his peers. For example, Fujimoto quite literally states that the character of Power in Chainsaw Man is inspired by Eric Cartman, while Denji and Pochita's dynamic relationship is inspired by Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. Personally, I've never seen manga authors draw as much inspiration from Western media as Fujimoto does. Moreover, in all of the research I've done, and hey, maybe I'm wrong, but Fujimoto has only mentioned a single classic shonen, One Piece, and not even to say that he was inspired by it, but when he was younger, he did in fact watch it. Instead, what Fujimoto pulls from are films. A little more specifically is his obsession with Korean films. They're often praised for their high-quality, freshly unique experience they bring to the cinema industry, with their distinct approach as well as expectation-defying stories. So when Fujimoto draws from many of these different films, he finds the expectations of both of their respective mediums. Needless to say that Fujimoto draws from any work that he's fond of. By doing so, Fujimoto breaks free from the perpetual cycle of manga-inspired shonen stories. Instead, Fujimoto's inspiration is more like a rapidly growing web. A web that keeps branching out further and further the more he consumes. And because Fujimoto takes inspiration from a vastly different perspective from the rest of the manga world, it allows him to be unique to the point of extreme, leading him to create some very odd stuff. Alright, we've explored Fujimoto's works, got a glimpse into his oddness, and even discussed why his works feel so weird. But how else is he able to succeed? I think the perfect series to answer that question is Chainsaw Man. But more specifically, I should ask, how is a series where the main character seeks to touch a woman able to affect so many people? If you think about newcoming adults in today's day and age, we often don't have these same hardworking aspirations previous generations had. For example, we aren't eager to go buy a house a couple years after graduating college, simply because that is no longer a feasible option. Instead, this generation is content with just doing our job and going home to do whatever the fuck we actually want to do. Oddly enough, this is also reflected in the aspirations of shonen manga. Previous generations of shonen stories frequently had these massively aspiring protagonists, which reflected the high-achieving culture of those times. But now we don't have those aspirations.
we don't have that connection to massive goals. That's why whenever newer series try to replicate these lofty expectations, it can fall a little flat. Instead, we aspire for something much simpler, like Denji's straightforward goal of embracing a woman. I'd be remiss to say that Fujimoto is head and shoulders above the rest just by creating a relatable story through its realistic cast of characters. While it is a fundamental aspect, in many ways, Fujimoto has been revolutionizing the manga medium. Many would say that manga can't hold a candle to its counterpart, anime, saying that drawings have no chance of being as good as moving images with voice acting or music. Although there is some truth in that statement, there are things that Fujimoto does with manga that can never be done on the screen. Page layouts and panel formations have been a strength of Fujimoto's as early as when he was creating Fire Punch, not sticking to any one particular structure that becomes monotonous reading. Instead, he uses varying miniature panels to help guide the reader's eyes to the bigger picture of the page. Likewise, Fujimoto toys with the perception and confines of the manga medium, such as a panel like this, where the finger looks like it's coming from an outside entity into the manga panel. Or here's another one. The perspective looking in through the window, although it could be replicated in
okay,
anime,
buddy, you got it. No,
have the same
you get over there.
It does in manga.
You get over there in the
anime,
West.
it would just seem as any other shot. While seeing this done in manga truly shows the artistic expertise of Fujimoto. Tatsuki Fujimoto is simply a standout author. Anything he does, writes, or says, people become infatuated with. All because of its astounding, self-aware, relatable, unhinged
what the fuck was
stories
that?
derived from
Bro, no, don't do this to me.
People would simply line up for days just to get a glimpse into the genius of Tatsuki.
Going right back where I
And
was.
honestly, he's kind of become this cult-like leader, signaling to the tippity-top status that he's created for himself. And one may even say that
she just darting across the goddamn.
Now, there's still one more thing we have to uncover. Remember the year 2012?
Wow,
the
I
year
didn't
after
think I was
Fujimoto
standing.
released his first one-shot and didn't do anything? Well,
you is a whole dumb.
There's a website
So
where
how the fuck
amateurs
am I
can
supposed to
submit
find
art,
this out?
and I started uploading my scribble like
Niggas
manga
can't
there
even,
in my
like-
first or second year of high school.
There's a fascinating, undiscovered online presence of the great Fujimoto, which all stems from a lone username. And rumblings on Twitter suggest that Tatsuki Fujimoto used to go under
I was supposed to catch it out. Like, seriously, what the fuck is this?
But how can we figure if that's actually true? I won't pretend like I'm some super internet detective that proved the existence that Nagato is me is truly Fujimoto. And we'll never 100% know unless there's a confirmation directly from Fujimoto himself. However, this fabulous video by Prohibitus presents pretty damning evidence to suggest that Nagato is me is in fact Fujimoto. But the most convincing evidence actually comes from Twitter, where multiple users mentioned a Twitter handle called Nagato is me. However, that account no longer exists. And those same people who mentioned the Nagato is me
Niggas is just, is that what you do with your day? Sit in the fucking woods and hoop? Bro, this shit is sick. You need to get some help.
feels throughout your entire life. Therefore, you make your way over to the internet to make sure no information comes in there. But, what you found was beyond shocking. It was genuinely terrifying. Not only was it me, but something potentially life-threatening. This person in the hypothetical scenario was actually rich, and in astonishment, quickly reached out to Fujimoto, where I imagine the conversation went something like this.
Yeah, Fujimoto, online, I found this psychopath somehow information about Fire Punch.
Really? Who could have done it?
I don't know, maybe an editor or an assistant mentioned it to someone, but seriously, it's quite frightening. I think we should get a lawyer.
A lawyer? What? What happened? Explain it from the top.
Okay. So, I was doing some checks online to make sure no information had leaked out, but I found something really scary. On Twitter, this account, it's crazy. I think something may be wrong with this person. Only an absolute psycho would try to pose as your little sister and leak information about your upcoming series. At first, I was just nervous that it was a leak, but I looked further into the account, and they're seriously pretending to be your little sister, even going as far as to mention you sometimes. I know you don't have a little sister, especially one named Kageyama Koharu, so this is really freaky. I'm going to try to sue them.
Rin? I don't think we need to sue. It's okay.
What do you mean it's okay? This is insane!
Well, you see, that's actually my account. I pretend to be a fake little sister. I tweet about what I eat, recommendations I have, and so on. I want to be anonymous online, so I've taken on a persona. And as I play the role, I've gradually become Nagayama Koharu. Sometimes I tweet about things that I've done or ate that aren't even true.
Fujimoto, you insane maniac. Well, maybe this is the proper way to be on Twitter.
Nagayama Koharu is a persona Fujimoto created, staged to be his third-grade little sister.
Grand Canyon University's RN to BSN online degree program makes earning your bachelor's in nursing possible. Balance online coursework with local in-person benefits to prepare you to lead as a charge nurse in the time you have from wherever you are, leaving room for what matters. Achieve your goals with your personalized plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
At Blue Bunny, we test to make sure our mini treats are crunchy and mini. Sorry. So, does it feel mini enough for you? Approved. Blue Bunny, we make fun.
But, he doesn't have a sister. Despite his desperate attempts at trying to stay anonymous, it was a massive failure. At a first glance, the concept that Fujimoto pretends to be an imaginary little sister is utterly peculiar. It makes you wonder what kind of twisted psycho this man truly is. But now let's gather everything we've learned to tackle the ultimate question. Why is Tatsuki Fujimoto so weird? You'd think that this question was a shut and closed case. Just look at the abundant list of reasons for why Tatsuki Fujimoto is considered weird in the first place. There's also one more thing that needs to be added to the list that I couldn't fit narratively in the video. Maybe you've heard that Tatsuki Fujimoto is a masochist. Well, that's because in an interview he quite literally openly admits to it. Going on to recall this story about getting pushed off his bike by some chick and saying he felt so happy that she did it to me. Alright. Take another look at this. It's a no-brainer. Tatsuki Fujimoto is a fucking weirdo. He is fetish, he pretends to be a girl that doesn't exist. He is definitely admitted to at one point planning murder, as well as suicide. And he writes about the strangest fucking things. All the signs point to him not being mentally sane. So at the bottom line, let's all collectively agree that Tatsuki Fujimoto is a fucking weirdo. But allow me to explain why he isn't so weird. We're always all too quick to just read ahead. Too quick to just read a title. Too quick to just look at a thumbnail. And from that we gather improper assumptions. Tatsuki Fujimoto is just as human as you or I. He has the same justifications, feelings, and fears that we all have. But he's viewed as this weird, bizarre incident. Like you'll read or hear about how Tatsuki Fujimoto pretends to be his little sister on the internet. You'll hear echo after echo, that he's a fucking weirdo. So how can you also not believe that same sentiment that everyone spews? But I think we all fail to consider the motives for his actions. For example, take Nagayama Koharu. On the surface, it appears as a predatory attempt to be someone he's not. But is it really that weird to want a sense of security? Or what's the reason behind his murderistic threats? To me, Fujimoto embodies that desperate desire to be great, possessing the same killer, animalistic attitude legends like Kobe, MJ, and Larry Bird had for the game of basketball. Fujimoto was never going to fail at becoming a mangaka, so he created ultimatums to guarantee his success. When I read Fujimoto was either going to get better at art or kill his classmates, at first I laughed, but the more I read, the more I didn't think he was that weird. Instead, I kind of admired. I admired the unfaltering passion to be great. I think there's logical reasons as to why Fujimoto does the odd things that he does. Well, okay, maybe there's no explanation for eating your pet fish at pity. Well, sure, maybe he is a little weird. He can say weird things and write about odd topics. But that's the charm of Fujimoto, and none of it is with ill intent. Again, there may be no definitive answer as to why Fujimoto is as weird as he is, but there's certainly something we can learn from him. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're all fucking weird. Some more weird than others, but too often we all try to conform to society. We try to become another cog in the wheel, adding no value to our lives or anyone else's. We shy away from that weirdness that makes us who we are, and as a result, makes life lack the imaginative creativity that brings color to the world. So what I'm trying to say is aspire to achieve like Fujimoto, because he got to where he is by consistently rejecting normality. Maybe there will be a day where we reflect back and remember how Tatsuki Fujimoto rose to being the greatest mangaka of all time. Not because he did what already worked, but because he did but didn't. Creating weird stories no one else dared to create. So make sure you follow Tatsuki Fujimoto, because there will never be another author quite like him.
I think it might be my $234.49 Switch I got from Temu. Download Temu and you can buy with one friend to enjoy team price right now.
What's going on, guys? This is Robert, and for your request, we are remastering Spider-Verse. At least 70% of you guys said you wanted me to remaster Spider-Verse. More like 75%, because Spider-Man No Way Home is a giant multiversal story, so I guess it makes sense. And so in order to make things easier for you guys, I'm going to put the reading order down in the description so you guys can basically keep up as you guys buy the comics and read them and so on and so forth. But this picks up with Superior Spider-Man. Now, those of you guys who don't know what that is, Superior Spider-Man was the story arc where Dr. Octopus
Hello, guys and gals. My name is Mudahar, and I'm pretty pissed, to be honest with you. You know, it's not too many games I get too excited for. Like, Final Fantasy 16 came out, played that way all the way through to the end. On the second playthrough, absolutely loving it, okay? It might be one of my favorite Final Fantasy games out there. I know that might be a hot take to some people. I enjoy it, okay? It's cool. You know, I played some Diablo 4, and I enjoyed my first, 20 hours of the game until, I'll be real, by, the second act of most games, it's just get it over with, bro. I want to see the credit screen, all right? This has gone on for way too long. But, of course, Payday 3 is one of those games where I was really excited for. Okay, Payday is a game about heisting. You know, you can play it solo by yourself, or you can team up with your friends or randoms and rob stuff, okay? Robbing stuff in video games is cool, all right? I love the high-intensity moments where we look at a bank, all right? We're putting our masks on. We're telling each other, all right, listen, there's a guard over there. Pop him in the head. Hey, there's a guard coming near you. Have you answered the pager and bagged the body? I know it sounds wild, but if you play games like Payday, and I can count the amount of, heist games on my hand, There's not a whole heck of a lot of them, but the few that are out there are super fun to play. Payday, I've been playing since like the PS3 days of Payday the Heist. Now, I don't have a lot of hours on Payday, I guess, if you wanted to really look into like if you wanted to like hour shame people. I think I have like 212 hours actually. I think I can dig that amount right now. Payday 2, 212.18 hours, okay? So for some people that might be rookie numbers. I know people with thousands of hours in this, okay? The only game I have like 3,000 hours in is Siege, okay? But, you know, Payday is a game that I enjoy. I play this in like waves, and a lot of my Payday experience has been mostly playing by myself, all right? See, this game could be played cooperatively with up to 3 other heisters, or you could do all the heists by yourself, stealth, loud, whatever. And actually, there's an entire YouTube community. There's actually YouTube communities, if you wanted to look up together, Payday 2, Heist Solo, okay? Bam, bam, watch this one. Whoa, look at that, General McBadass, Dravik. A lot of these guys out here who are actually recording this game entirely solo. See, there's a whole community, there's a whole rush to it. Nothing is more fun than robbing a bank by yourself and knowing that at the very end, 34 minutes in, when you're just about to take that sweet victory, there's some manager on the other side of the bank that's seen a body and it's going, oh no! You don't have any ways to jam communications. You gotta run! 20 seconds, pop in the head, bag the body up, and escape. That is actual, like, intensity, I would say, right? If you haven't played Payday 2, I would recommend highly, if you're into that kind of tense gameplay, to actually play the title. Anyways, the reason why I'm so actually mad about this is Payday 3 will require an online connection to play, even in single player. Now, Almir Listo, the man behind this, has said, no, you'll be able to play by yourself, okay? So it's proven, if you wanted to solo the game, you can, but I do believe you will have to have an internet connection in order to play, because it's made in Unreal Engine, and has cross-progression and cross-play. I do believe we need you to be online. Now, if this is true, back in the days of Diablo 2, late 90s, early 2000s, a very simple concept was made, 2 save files, one that was entirely tied to the online Battle.net servers, or you could have an offline file that would never require you to touch the internet server, so every party was happy, okay? That's kind of the general stuff that I expected going on forward, but it seems like game developers now pretty much fucking force everyone to actually be required online for games that don't even need it. Now, the reason why people get mad about this stuff is not because I know that the actual counter-movement, but Bruno, don't you have an internet connection? Aren't you using an internet connection to upload this video? You have an internet connection, right? I know there's a lot of like idiots that say that, yeah, I have a great internet connection, I have an internet connection, that's awesome. You know the problem with requiring internet-only services is sometimes those services fail.
Making strides event is, I'm like getting an event.
I thought that my internet went off. Goddamn.
And you know, Diablo 4, run by Activision Blizzard, one of the biggest in the industry, you know, they run indie MMO games like World of Warcraft, okay, Diablo 3, and even they sometimes have extended DDoS attacks, alright, totally out of their control, which renders a $60, $70 game completely unplayable to the average person. Imagine signing in to Diablo 4 and realizing, wow, I'm mostly fighting the AI in the game. You know, occasionally you might come across another player in the open world, but see, if the game wasn't online only, that would be the only, like, deterring part of it, not seeing the other NPCs the other players in the hub areas. For 99.9% of your playtime in that game, you are fighting against AI enemies, okay? That's pretty much it. The only reason Diablo requires you to be connected online is because they want to maintain, you know, completely clean leaderboards. They want to try to stamp out as much cheating as they can, so on and so forth. But ultimately, it creates a preservation issue, right? Like Diablo 3 on PC is still requiring online connections. However, if you wanted to preserve Diablo 3, you could buy the game on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and play it completely offline, which proves that the game itself never needed to have an internet connection to begin with. So if you go to the Steam page and just watch the gameplay trailer to Payday 3, you can notice that, yeah, it looks shinier, it looks better, but at the end of the day, it's still the same fucking game as Payday 2. You know, you're still running around, putting the mask on, you know, you're telling guards to put their guns down, alright, shooting people like crazy. It's not an MMO. Even if this game had a situation where after the heist, I would be thrown into like a safe house with like other players, that wouldn't even need me to be connected online in the first place. That wouldn't justify an always online connection. See, always online might as well just be called digital rights management, which basically like puts a rental on your video game purchase. And, you know, in a world where, believe it or not, like over 85% of video games are shockingly unpreserved, as due to a new study, this is something that I really don't want to become normal in the world of gaming going forward. This kind of cancer started with Destiny back during the launch of the PS4, Xbox One, where these games that ultimately didn't have anything that resembled an MMO, like World of Warcraft, okay? World of Warcraft, MMOs, you're actually going into cities with hundreds, thousands of players, okay, that you're looking at. There are actual in-game auction houses and economies that you are participating in. The world is dictated by the actual player base. To play a game like World of Warcraft single player is insane. You can do it, it's insane though. You know, you can launch your own private server instance. To play a game like Destiny or Payday, where mostly your time is spent by yourself or 3 other friends, and yes, the game forces you to have social interactions in like hub worlds, if this game even does that, that doesn't justify you always having an always online connected system. You know, the other reason to have an always online connected component is also A, to make sure nobody, I guess, is running into hacked items, which, in my opinion, for PvE games like this, is almost a fucking non-issue. But the other reality is obviously they want to push microtransactions, battle passes, something of that sort to the average person. Because remember, if you're not connected to the online services, you're also not connected to an annoying storefront that won't shut up about the daily deals, the weekly deals, everything in your face, constantly, 24/7. That's the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Every single video game has become like sort of a skeleton that you buy for $60, and then every cool thing in that video game is also locked behind other microtransactions and other paywalls that you gotta go down into. There's a game known as Exoprimal that just came out on Game Pass, and you know what's wild about it? I enjoy the game, but for some reason turning that shit into a live service title pretty much like it gives me the it just rubs me the wrong way. It's almost like the game developer Capcom there wanted to create the next big hype title, the next big Call of Duty, the next big Overwatch, and in terms of going that way, they decided to kind of kill the soul of their video game. The other reality of this too is that Payday, the reason why I'm so mad is I know this is going to be a good game. You know, Payday games are not bad titles. They're fun titles. It's the reason why I put over 100 hours into Payday 2 alone. It's because I'm sitting around doing heists. There are heists in this game that I haven't done yet because there's so much content that keeps getting added. If you fall off the Payday train for like 2 months, you'll come back to a bevy of content that you'll enjoy. And as you do that content, you can do it with your friends, but I mostly do it solo. I find a challenge in playing these games solo. Nothing gets me excited than doing the biggest bank heist in the world by myself with very limited resources and pulling that shit off by the skin of my teeth. And you know what? I kind of wish that Payday 3 is the same, which it appears to be that case. But why are you making it always online and the progression is tied to being connected to a server that at any moment can go offline? And it, again, hinges on the fact that Starbreeze is going to be continuously paying that bill. Now, if it comes out after like 8-9 years that they don't have to pay this bill anymore, then it's just proven this fucking always online bullshit was nonsense to begin with. It's just DRM. It kills the ability to play it on like the Steam Deck, the Aya Neo, the Rogue Ally, whatever mobile handheld gaming device that you have. Dude, I would wager 25% of my Payday playtime has been on airplanes and airports with shoddy Wi-Fi. But you know why I was playing Payday 2? Because like a lot of other PC games, shit ran without the internet to begin with, as it should have. Why can this game not do the same? It's literally the same title with a fresher coat of paint. Why? It's insanity. And of course the audience here, the actual community, is excited for this as well too. I can't wait. Woo! Always online video game. And here's the great response here too. What sucks most about always online shit is you can have the most clear, uninterruptible, and secure connection to the internet no demand, but if the game servers are down, then you can't play, which is true. Again, it entirely hinges on a bunch of factors that shouldn't exist in the first place. Now, Payday isn't the only game to do this. There's another game that aggravates me too. Hitman 3. I like the Hitman World of Assassination trilogy. One of the best titles that you can ever go get your hand on. Have you ever played a Hitman game? Okay, it's like the ultimate. Stealth gaming is not what it used to be. Hitman's keeping that alive, okay? It's carrying that shit on its back. Now, Hitman 3, while it's a great game, guess what they did to the progression? Tied that shit to the online framework. Surprisingly, right? Surprising, isn't it? Even though that their big publisher Square Enix is gone, IO Interactive still hasn't cleared up the always online requirement. Imagine playing a video game where the progression is tied to a server that is shoddy in the first place. And the thing about always online shit that wilds people out is the fact that because they're tied to a server, at least in Hitman's case, the community loves the game so much that they've created what is known as the Peacock Project, which allows you to run Hitman servers like a replacement literally on your local machine. So if their servers ever go offline, congratulations, we in the community have got a stopgap for it. Which again shows you why do we even need these servers in the first place? Now the other thing is modding. Alright, obviously with an always online game and integrity checks, modding might be thrown into the hinge too, which is a big component of Payday as well. Why is it Starbreeze Overkill actually wants to go down this road? I'm a guy that is excited for Payday 3. I've been excited ever since they announced it. But the moment you start putting always online regulations into your video game is the moment my hype just goes completely the other way. I would have probably pre-ordered this game. I would have probably gotten like the mid-tier, maybe even the gold edition. I might have paid $120 in support of Starbreeze, in support of Payday 3, because I believed in this game. Now, I'm not even interested in buying this shit to begin with. Honestly, if anything, I think I'll just stick to playing Payday 2. I don't care how good the game is. The moment we have these anti-consumer policies, you gotta stand up to it at some point, okay? You really have to put your goddamn foot down. Not every game needs to be a live service, MMO, always online required game. And if you're gonna tell me that Payday, again, the whole fun of the game is co-op looter, that might be for you. Not for everyone playing in this community. A lot of people play this just solo or only with their friends. And even if your enjoyment was coming out of cooperative play, why would you still defend a model that only turns your game into a rental and not an actual own? That's all I'm putting it out there, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, I'm a little bit pissed. I wanted to rant about this, but obviously nothing's going to change, alright? The always online component's going to stick around. And it's kind of sad nowadays when I load up a video game and I try to like turn the internet off on my console just to see if I fucking own the game, or if it's somehow still connected to the server, passing off telemetry, all that extra BS. That's all I'm saying, man. It's kind of a shame how we went from having to own our games, single player, even games that were multiplayer focused. You know, if you ever lost your internet connection back in the day with a multiplayer game, it wasn't even a shocking incident where you had bots. You had offline modes. You don't even have that with shit like this, man. Insanity. Anyways, this is me, Mudahar, and yeah.
As the saying goes, home is where the heart is. It's where children grow and treasures fill up the bank. For our nation's homeowners, home can provide even more, an opportunity to build wealth and have something to pass on to the next generation. Owning a home allows our children and our children's children to have the futures we've always dreamed of. At the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, we have housing consultation services for every American. Our nation's housing counselors are trained to help first-time homebuyers find and use programs that meet their unique needs. Counselors provide trustworthy advice throughout the home buying process to help families of all sizes find safe and affordable housing. Home ownership can be more than just a dream. Contact a local housing counselor today to take the first step toward home ownership.
I'll be sitting here prepping food, and it's like, boom. You can't see the cars coming. And it is a tremendously scary and frightening.
Dude, she has to brace herself and autistic son from the impact of vehicles slamming into her home as they try to pass through the alley next to it. Muwani bought the house in 2010. The entire block was part of an East Side redevelopment project. She claims the builders miscalculated measuring her row home, and it encroaches the alley by 8 inches.
It was supposed to end right before this little white pipe. It's supposed to end there. So I'm significantly encroaching.
The developer, Rebuild Metro, says that's not true, and points to surveyor stakes to back that up. The company issued a statement saying 2 additional site surveys were completed, and both confirmed that the house is located properly on its lot. Her house is where it's supposed to be. Rebuild Metro says 3 BGE utility poles were the problem. So the finger pointing is now squarely at the city to do something.
What's done is done. The damage is done. It's financially draining me to the point that I can't afford the house anymore.
The city put in poles as bumpers, but it hasn't worked. They're either pushed into the house or the damage is done above them.
It's like bounce and scrape and bounce and scrape, like it just sounds like a train wreck.
The corner seal of the home has been torn away.
Every gash that you see is taking in water.
The holes in the wall allow a gush of water in the basement when it rains.
And then clearly just lots of vehicle streaks and dents.
Vehicles have ruined her fence and busted her gate.
Big gashes which are letting water inside the wall. The metal is completely bent and damaged, and the screen is missing from this window. This is the one that takes in water every time it rains.
To mitigate mold, all but a small patch of flooring had to be removed in the living room and kitchen.
All the floors in the dining room are gone.
She covers the area with mats. Buwani says repairs have cost her more than $100,000. She pays out of pocket to keep homeowners insurance down, which, by the way, she says, has jumped from $300 to $7,000 a year.
I can't sell the house. I can't rent the house. A real estate agent won't touch it because of the amount and frequency of vehicle strikes.
City garbage trucks can't squeeze by. Pickups are now in front. The solution is simple. You take one of these and you put it here, but it's not as easy as you think. The city won't do it. Officials have acknowledged in writing that the alley is too narrow for vehicles and have been telling the property owners since 2012 they're considering options. We asked the City Department of Transportation whether making a portion of the alley a pedestrian walkway is one of them. They responded in writing. The Department of Transportation is still reviewing options and will be presenting the homeowner with that information once our investigation is complete.
This is no way for anybody to live. I think I've been more than patient. I've been really dry. I'm not trying to create any waves, trying to create any issues, but at the end of the day, I have to speak on something that's financially crushing me. And at the end, just resolve it. That's all I'm asking. Just resolve it.
Muwani says all but one of her neighbors is in favor of turning a portion of the alley into a pedestrian walkway. There are alternative ways to get in and out of the area, but that hasn't persuaded city officials. In East Baltimore, I'm David Collins.
Start putting trash cans out in front of your house. Look at that. Here's some more shit.
We'll leave the light on for music lovers. The ones who dance like no one's watching.
Put a couch out in front of
Sing like no one's listening. And no, there's no better feeling than being surrounded by a crowd doing the very same. In a world where we can stream any song, anytime, anywhere, they know there's no better place to be than right in front of the stage. Even if it means putting together a 12-hour playlist, driving 3 states to get there, and stopping over in little places you didn't know existed. It's times like these where the journey and the destination are both the reward, following the music wherever it leads. Chasing the moment a song goes from unfamiliar to unforgettable. Not just feeling the roar of the crowd, but being the roar. And wherever the music takes you, there's bound to be a Motel 6 along the way, with great low rates so you can save your cash for the merch table. Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you.
Whenever you need advice, just text our team of real human geniuses, like me.
Nope, I'm not doing this with you white people.
It's this land that drew it.
Hey guys, do you like beer but can't get drunk from beer? Then try new vodka beer. The can says beer, but inside is 12 ounces of carbonated vodka. And the best part is, your wife will never know.
Honey, I'm so proud of you, cutting down to 1 beer a night.
Take off your underwear. She don't know.
I got the mail. Hey, is an octopus with you?
Here, that says occupant.
Oh, that's too bad. That would have been awesome.
Oh, look, Tina. Here's something from your mother's estate. Oh, looks like they finally sold her house.
And the last white domino in that neighborhood falls.
Wow, they sold it? Let me...
Pacifica was proved for
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
Well, it's that time to kick off the Factor Uncensored tonight. New information coming to light in the case of 2 deadbeat-ass parents near Baton Rouge, Louisiana, charged in a severe case of neglect. Now, we first told you about this story last night on The Factor. Sheila and Clay Fletcher are now out of jail after being indicted on second-degree murder charges. Their 36-year-old daughter died in a way no one should. Severe and extreme neglect. She literally marinated in a couch for years, basically melted into it, and was found covered in feces, urine, and we're told large maggots. Chris Nakamoto, an investigative reporter in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, broke the story with my former photographer in Baton Rouge long ago, Joe McCoy. Now, if you thought details of the story we first told you about were just disgusting, Nakamoto says there's more. He joins us on The Factor now with where the parents are now.
They actually had a bond set yesterday. It was $300,000 apiece. And then a bail bondsman came to assist them with that bail. But there was a little hiccup. He brought about $3,000 of money short that they needed to get out. So Sheila was able to get out last night, and Clay just bonded out this morning after they got some of the additional money. It really is just a horrific case of neglect. Both of them were indicted on second-degree murder charges Monday by a grand jury in East Louisiana Parish for basically letting their daughter, who had autism, rot away on a sofa, they believe, for possibly 12 years.
Wow. So how long was she dead before they called authorities, or did they call authorities? Give us the details on that, because it's not too clear.
Our sources think that she wasn't dead for very long. The parents were out of town the weekend before she was found. She was found Monday, January 3rd. and they had called saying that their daughter was unresponsive. And then immediately when, paramedics help arrived and then the coroner arrived, he said, we need to treat this like a crime scene. Basically, he could tell it was just utter neglect. Literally, her legs were embedded into the sofa, and she hadn't moved from there. It was basically, from what we were told, like a latrine or a cesspool that she was living in. Just horrific conditions. She had open wounds to the bone from her feet all the way to her buttocks, and essentially had gnats and maggots all around her body.
Oh my God, that's just incredible and just so damn sad. Now, how did they live in a house? Obviously, there are going to be smells. If she is sitting there in her feces, her urine, and sitting there for at least a decade, how did they live in that house?
So that's what's so interesting. I guess they were just immune to the smell after living in the filth for so long. Listen, we got a picture from the living room of the floors that were buckling underneath the sofa, the wooden floors, because it was just layers upon layers of human waste, urination, feces, all on those wood floors. And essentially, the coroner told me when he showed up at that house,
Ew.
layers upon layers of human waste.
Oh, bruh. It's like a whole 7-inch divot in that couch full of shit, bro.
Urination, feces, all on those wood floors. And essentially, the coroner told me when he had showed up at that house, he couldn't eat for a week. And he's a practicing physician who's been doing this for 30 years. And he's seen a lot of neglect before. He said he's never seen a case like this. One of her causes of death was starvation. And they said she was so hungry, she was actually eating parts of the sofa around her. During her autopsy, they found sofa foam inside her stomach, along with feces. Feces were in her nostrils. They were in her mouth and her hair. Just a horrific, horrific case.
What do we know about these damn parents? Who are they? What do they do for a living? I mean, just who are these people?
They lived a normal life. The neighbors say they would see them come and go. They were always the church-going type, as they describe them, always in church every Sunday. The mother worked for a prosecutor in the city of Zachary, which is probably about 15 minutes from where they live. And it's not really clear what the dad did. He may have been involved in some nonprofit type work, but it's really kind of unclear what he did for a living. Some of our sources say that the daughter, who was nonverbal at the time of her death, was very verbal when she was in school. She was on the volleyball team and she could recite things like that. Some of the people who went to school with her. So it seems like she really digressed over the last few years, and the parents, instead of picking up the phone to make a call and say, hey, we need some help over here to treat our daughter's condition, they just let her rot away on a sofa. It's literally one of the most disturbing stories we've ever covered in my 15 years doing this here in the Baton Rouge area.
It's just mind-blowing. And so, did they ever have visitors over to the house, relatives over to the house? What did people say, if they did, or did they just keep her locked up? Was she placed in like a living room or some secret room where no one would see her in that house?
So from what we're being told, she was actually in the living room, and here's the kicker. The mother literally had her recliner next to the sofa where her daughter was literally rotting away. And so the sofa was positioned in front of the TV, and she apparently had been there for possibly up to 10 years or so. We talked to one of the neighbors who I had asked, hey, have you ever been in their house? He said, yeah, I've been in their house. Well, how long ago was it? He said, 15 years ago. We actually broke the news to the neighbor that Lacey had died. He didn't even know that his own neighbor's kid across the street had died 5 months ago. So they kind of kept to themselves, and it seems like over the past few years, they really retreated, and they were basically like hermits, not really coming, inviting people into the house.
Right.
Because certainly you would think if people were in the house and witnessed that and didn't do anything, you know, Louisiana is one of the mandatory reporting states. Those adults would have a real responsibility to report the neglect that they saw. And if someone was aware of this happening, they could possibly face charges too.
That is just incredible and mind-blowing. And you see so many pictures with the mother and father with their LSU shirts on, out having a good time, all while their daughter is sitting there just wasting away and dying. So what's the next step for prosecutors now? Obviously, you said they are out on bond. And so what's the next step now for investigators and prosecutors in the case?
So the next step now that they've been indicted by a grand jury, is they'll have an arraignment where they plead guilty or not guilty. And then as that happens, then the process will move ahead with, you know, motions, hearings, and then possibly a trial date that will be set. But that probably won't happen for a few more months or so. But the autopsy was completed back in March, and it was immediately ruled a homicide, Lacey's death. And the big question that a lot of the public here has is, why did it take 5 months, if she died in January, to arrest the parents when everybody who showed up that night realized this was a problem? They'd never seen anything like this. The stench hit them like a ton of bricks the minute the door was opened. So how in the world did it take 5 months to arrest these parents? And from what the sheriff said was, they wanted to make sure that all their I's were dotted, T's were crossed. They knew that this case was going to a grand jury this week, and they wanted...
I don't care if you're autistic or not, bro. How do you sit until the bones in your shins are exposed and not cry, not scream, not holler? That makes me think they had her mouth covered or had her muzzled or something. Just sitting on that fucking couch for years. Oh, God. Motherfucking white people, I swear. No, then it's motherfucking white supremacists. But Man. Tommy Brown gives voice walking some mama's cooking. Motherfucker. I'm so sick. Still passing that fucking. Oh.
Well, I was there one day. We saw cars to read. When the lights all went out, we watched our lives on the screen.
Oh shit, I must still be streaming. Yup.